Imagine hosting a peace conference without inviting the main antagonist or protagonist. It's like throwing a surprise party for someone and forgetting to invite them. Zelensky's Swiss hosted peace conference on Ukraine was precisely the same kind of absurdity. With Russia absent, the event quickly devolved into a festival of wishful thinking and political posturing. Picture a bunch of diplomats patting each other on the back while the person they really need to talk is conspicuously missing. It's the diplomatic equivalent of trying to solve a murder mystery without the detective. Welcome to the world's most pointless peace summit.
Welcome to TFI Global, the antidote to mass delusion.
Volodymyr Zelensky's Swiss hosted peace conference on Ukraine was doomed to be as effective as a chocolate teapot without Russia's participation. Bundestag MP Steffen Kotre of the Alternative for Germany AfD party didn't mince words when he shared his thoughts with the Russian media. What could have been a significant diplomatic event turned into a stage for political grandstanding and, of course, some fantasy. Quote, "It was obvious that the conference would achieve nothing given Russia's absence." End of quote. Kotre remarked with a dry wit. The United States and its allies once again pledged their undying support for Ukraine and promised more weapons. In response, Zelensky confidently declared that Russia could be defeated. This is pure wishful thinking, far removed from reality. In 3 weeks, this conference will be forgotten. These are not my words, but Kotre's, always the pragmatist. He noted that the first step towards peace is an unconditional ceasefire. He stressed that the rights of Russian-speaking minorities must be respected and that Ukraine cannot join NATO if Russia's security concerns are to be considered. In his view, territorial disputes must be resolved by the conflicting parties themselves, not through grandstanding at international summits. Switzerland generously offered to host the conference to discuss Zelensky's 10-point peace plan at the scenic Bergenstock Resort near Lucerne on June 15 and 16. Delegations from 92 countries and 8 organizations, including the European Union, Council of Europe, and UN, agreed to participate. However, significant world leaders such as US President Joe Biden, China's President Xi Jinping, and the heads of Brazil, South Africa, and India decided to skip this diplomatic soiree. In a show of how seriously the US took the event, Vice President Kamala Harris attended in place of Joe Biden, who preferred to grace a California fundraiser with his presence. China, always the voice of Global South, called for a real peace conference that Russia and Ukraine would both recognize. Colombian President Gustavo Petro, sensing the futility, pulled out at the last minute, declaring the summit was not a free forum for peace between Moscow and Kiev. The Saudi Arabian Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan echoed a sentiment that seemed lost on the organizers. Any credible peace process in Ukraine requires Russia's participation, he asserted during his speech at the Swiss conference. It's a bit like trying to settle a family feud without inviting one of the main family members, bound to be unproductive. While 79 of the 91 participating countries signed the resulting document, notable abstentions included Armenia, Bahrain, Brazil, the Holy See, India, Indonesia, Libya, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Thailand, and the UAE. This selective signing list highlighted the fragmented support for the conference's outcomes. Russia, unsurprisingly, dismissed the conference as meaningless. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov pointed out the obvious. A peace talk on Ukraine without Russia is like staging Hamlet without the prince. Russian ambassador to the UN, Vasily Nebenzia, was blunt in his assessment, describing the conference's goal as presenting an ultimatum to Russia in the guise of Zelensky's peace plan. So to sum it all up, Zelensky's Swiss peace conference was a masterclass in futility, Without the involvement of Russia, it was little more than an exercise in political theater filled with lofty declarations and empty promises. The absence of key global players and the reluctance of significant nations to endorse the final declaration underscored the conference's lack of real impact. As Kotre predicted, this diplomatic spectacle will likely fade into obscurity, remembered more for its lack of substance than any meaningful progress towards peace.